Shadows lengthen. The air grows colder, and 2025 is about to unleash a wave of cinematic terror. Get ready for a journey into the darkest corners of the human psyche as we explore the most exciting horror movies on the horizon. There are dozens of expected new releases that are rumored to be some of the most bone-chilling and heart-stopping films ever to grace the silver screen. This iconic lineup consists of blood-curdling concepts, legendary franchises, and well-renowned directors. Number 1. HeartEyes. Valentine-themed horror films is a woefully overlooked niche in the horror genre. We're starting off this list with a flick for the bitter singles. I can say that because I too am one of you all. There have been some Valentine-themed horror films that have been released over the last decade, but none of them have come close to the level of My Bloody Valentine, the original and the remake. I would say that Happy Death Day to You, 2019, somehow manages to capture it, but it lacks the meanness of the 2009 remake, which I so love. However, HeartEyes seems to be stepping up to the challenge. The trailer eases you in with catchy music while assaulting you with visuals of potential victims running for their lives from a killer, someone named the HeartEyes Killer, who has wreaked havoc on Valentine's Day by stalking and murdering romantic couples. It also shows you a pretty brutal kill, which I have mixed feelings about, because when a trailer does that, it usually ends up either spoiling or ruining the entire film for you. But I will endeavor to be positive and hope that I will get something as mean-spirited or close to My Bloody Valentine 2009. HeartEyes is set to release on February 7th, 2025 in the US. Number 2. Frankenstein. Mary Shelley's Gothic classic has been adapted numerous times for film, television, and stage. The classic explores themes of scientific hubris, creation, isolation, and many have attempted to explore it through various lenses while adapting it for the big screen. This time, taking up the gauntlet is none other than Guillermo del Toro, King of Gothic. Not much is known about the plot at the moment, but it's the cast that piques one's interest. You have the charismatic Oscar Isaac in the role of Victor Frankenstein, and the brooding Jacob Elordi as Frankenstein's monster. Initially, Andrew Garfield had been cast for the monster, but he was later replaced by Elordi. Other notable names include Mia Goth and David Bradley. The Mexican filmmaker has mentioned before that Frankenstein is his favorite novel, and that he'd like to take a crack at it by applying a Miltonian tragedy approach. In layman's terms, think of a Paradise Lost version of Frankenstein. Would be pretty gnarly, don't you think? Joe Blow's article goes into detail about Del Toro's approach regarding this beloved project over the years, and I'm going to link it here so you guys can read about it too. After 17 years of trying to make it happen, we will finally get to see Guillermo del Toro's love child on the big screen. We haven't gotten the release date yet, but Del Toro has mentioned that the movie will get a theatrical release and will be available for streaming on Netflix sometime in 2025. Number 3. ScreamBoat. What's the worst nightmare scenario for someone living in the Middle Ages? A rat on the boat. What's the worst nightmare scenario for someone living in the 20th century? A rat on the boat, trying to murder you in cold blood. That's the plot of ScreamBoat. Basically, if you've ever seen the 1928 Steamboat Willie, it's the horror version of it. There is something ironic about taking a Disney movie and giving it a dark spin, whereas it's usually Disney taking the horrifying tales and sanitizing them for impressionable minds. What makes this even more interesting is the fact that David Howard Thornton is going to be playing Mickey Mouse. You know, that guy. That one. The project is being headed by Terrifier 2 producers Stephen Della Sala and Michael Levy, and director Stephen Lamort, who previously made the Grinch-inspired horror movie The Mean One. ScreamBoat is scheduled to be released theatrically by Iconic Events Releasing and Desktop Entertainment on January 24th, 2025. Number 4. The Monkey. What happens when you put the maker of Longlegs and the king of horror together? You get The Monkey. The Monkey is based on a 1980 short story by Stephen King featuring a, quote, cymbal-banging monkey toy, unquote, which ends up in the possession of two brothers who discover it in their great-uncle's house. The toy has nefarious origins and massive cursed energy, as the brothers will come to find out when a series of gruesome deaths begin to occur not long after its appearance. The trailer has a dark and punchy tone, which teases us with bare glimpses of what promises to be a harrowing ride, with lots of monkeying around of the sinister variety. The cast has an impressive lineup, featuring big names such as Theo James, Tatiana Maslany, Elijah Wood, Christian Convery, Colin O'Brien, Rowan Campbell, and Sarah Levy. The movie is set to release on February 21st, 2025 in the US. Number 5. Iron Lung. When you hear the term iron lung, most people think about the mechanical respirator that helps patients breathe when they can't control their own muscles or can't breathe on their own. But there is a niche group of folks who will think of the indie horror game called Iron Lung. Developed by David Szymanski, it's a horror game that tells the story of a prisoner sent to explore a blood ocean on an empty moon after a mass extinction wiped out humanity on Earth. PowerPack did an amazing video on the game if you're interested in checking it out. The reason why I'm talking about this is because Markiplier, everyone's favorite master of chaos and purveyor of questionable life choices, is making a movie on it. And considering how we're living in a time where most horror releases we look forward to are remakes or legacy sequels, an original concept like this is exciting. We've moved past the time where we had to wait for a big production house to fund a beloved project. And most days, people just find other avenues like crowdfunding or do it themselves. Yeah, Markiplier is completely funding this project himself, and the trailer definitely leaves an impression long after your screen goes blank. Considering the world we now live in, where the feeling of an impending dystopic future looms near, I feel like Iron Lung is a good horror film to have on your watch list. The movie's release date is not confirmed yet, but hopefully it will see the light of day somewhere in 2025. Number 6. Wolfman. Although Leigh Whannell has many writing credits to his name, being the mind behind some of the most beloved horror films over the years that have been brought to life by James Wan, with the release of The Invisible Man in 2020, Whannell proved that he's also got some directing chops on him, with the well-rounded horror thriller. This time, he's going to be taking on the Wolfman, and from the trailer you can tell it's already going to be a tense and thrilling ride. The Wolfman franchise kicked off in 1941, and there's been a series of related projects that have come out over the years, which have, in their own ways, tried to do justice to the story, except for the 2010 remake. We don't talk about that. I'm honestly really interested to see what Blumhouse does with the Wolfman, especially Whannell. This Reddit thread breaks down the order of the movies if you're interested in catching up, or if you want a quick and easy intro to prepare for the Blumhouse release. The release date for the movie is January 17th, 2025. Number 7. Sinners. Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan are a duo that have given us gems like Fruitvale Station, Creed, and Black Panther. All three projects are different and diverse and showcase the talent that is this pair. They're teaming up once again, this time to take a crack at the horror genre. The dialogues, especially this one line, "If you keep dancing with the devil, one day he's gonna follow you home," stays with you. Number 8. Companion. All right, I'll bite. The last time I watched a Zach Kreger production, it was Barbarian. Actually, it was my first time ever watching this director's work, and it left me with mixed feelings. On one hand, you could easily dismiss it as lazy horror writing because there is so much the movie leaves unexplained. On the other hand, you could argue it is the very absence of an explanation that makes Barbarian a solid example of horror, because there is no bigger horror than that of the unknown. Cliché, I know, but it works. Okay. Due to the consumption of horror in the 20th century, and how it has evolved over the years, we are left with a belief that we should be entitled to know everything possible the movie has to offer, down to its nitty-gritty, but that's not how horror always works. The true horror lies in not knowing everything. That's why, despite my initial misgivings, I'm choosing to include another Krieger production that you should keep an eye out for. Companion. Not a lot is known about the plot except for what IMDb tells us. Quote, "A billionaire's death sets off a chain of events for Iris and her friends during a weekend trip to his lakeside estate." If the trailer doesn't reel you in, then The Boys star Jack Quaid and Scream Queen Sophie Thatcher definitely will. It has the same vibe as the HeartEyes trailer, opening with a seemingly innocuous romantic tune before segueing into a series of tightly cut clips that showcase the horrors to come. I do love a good loony eccentric billionaire mystery, and I do want to give Krieger another chance, so I'm adding it to the list. I suggest you do it as well. Companion is set to release on January 31st, 2025. Number 9, 28 years later. Have you ever dreamed up a scenario where you fell into a coma and then woke up sometime later to discover that the fabric of your reality had been altered? That's the premise of 28 Days Later, when our protagonist wakes up to discover that while he'd been catching a few medical Z's, the world went to shit due to some virus. For those who aren't familiar with the 28 Days Later franchise, let me give you a little explainer. 28 Years Later is the third film in the 28 Days Later series. The first film, the plot of which I just described to you, is called 28 Days Later, which was released in 2002, followed by a second film, 28 Weeks Later, in 2009. The third film is what I'm going to ask y'all to look out for, as it's set to release sometime in 2025. It already has a sequel too, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Yeah, I know, they're not talking about my bedroom either. As someone who watched the first two movies, was traumatized by the first one and disappointed by the second, I am cautiously optimistic. The fact that they felt confident enough to announce a sequel when the third movie isn't even out yet is not as comforting as one might think, but the trailer is solid, and whoever made the executive decision to put a haunting reading of Rudyard Kipling's Boots as the BGM for the trailer is a genius. I just hope I can say the same for the movie when it comes out. The movie is a summer release, with the date being June 20th, 2025. Number 10, The Bride. I must confess that I have harbored a special, if vague, fascination with Maggie Gyllenhaal ever since I first saw her in The Secretary with James Spader. Maggie might not stand out like well-known names such as Nicole Kidman and Drew Barrymore, but she definitely leaves an impression with the roles she plays. It would make sense that she'd do the same in her capacity as a director. She wowed viewers with her directorial debut with The Lost Daughter, a hard-hitting movie that explores the dark side of motherhood, a topic that, in my opinion, deserves more media exploration. There's not much of the plot to go off of, except for what IMDb tells us. In 1930s Chicago, Frankenstein asks Dr. Afronius to help create a companion. They give life to a murdered woman as the bride, sparking romance, police interest, and radical social change. There's a lot of buzz surrounding this release, considering it has a star-studded cast, which includes Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster and Jessie Buckley as the bride. Other notable names include Jake Gyllenhaal, Peter Sarsgaard, and Penelope Cruz. Going from something like The Lost Daughter to The Bride does raise some eyebrows, but I'm set. Based on her amazing filmography and what she showcased in The Lost Daughter, I'm cautiously optimistic about The Bride. The fact that I'll be seeing 2 different movies on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from a male and female perspective in the year 2025 excites me greatly, and it should definitely excite you as well. Before we reveal the last 5 films on our list, let us know what your go-to movie snack is in the comments. Alright, now back to the good stuff. Number 11, Megan 2.0. Prepared to embark on the exploration of the terrifying possibilities of artificial intelligence. Currently, not much is known regarding the highly anticipated sequel to Universal Pictures' 2022 sci-fi horror film Megan. According to IMDb, the plot is under wraps, with an expected release date of June 27, 2025. The original story follows a lifelike AI doll that has been created with the purpose to be the perfect companion and protector to a child. After the tragic loss of her parents, a young girl named Katie is paired with the Megan doll, whose primary function and command is to protect her, emotionally and physically. When Megan shows signs of advancement, she also gains some unexpected independence and begins taking Katie's protection to horrifying levels, raising the stakes for everyone involved. It's safe to assume that the sequel will continue to explore all the terrible possibilities that entail with the advancement of artificial intelligence, and audiences sure seem to be looking forward to it. Number 12, The Conjuring: Last Rites. Did you really think it was over for them? Think again. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren are back yet again for one final showdown with the world of evil spirits and demons. Director James Wan is bringing us along to say goodbye to the Warrens and the Conjuring universe officially in September of 2025. The Conjuring franchise is notably one of the most beloved in modern history. Prepare to be spooked as we bear witness to the mysterious entities they must confront next. Wan has also stated that he would miss everyone before stating that it is the end of an era. Vera Farmiga, who has played Lorraine Warren for 12 years across the franchise, bid an emotional farewell to her co-star Patrick Wilson, who plays Ed Warren, as they wrapped filming up in November of 2024. Farmiga's post reads in part, "A hell of an era. Here's to 12 years. I cherish you." We're sure going to be tuning in to say goodbye to the Warrens, and all we can hope for is a happy ending. Right? Number 13, Saw 11. The 11th installment of the long-running Saw franchise, Saw 11, is set to be released on September 26, 2025, continuing the legacy of the Jigsaw Killer. Similar to Megan 2.0, there is currently not much known regarding the film's plot. There is speculation that the Saw 11 plot will be another prequel-like installment, although nothing is confirmed. Regardless, the film will likely feature the twisted games and horrifying moral dilemmas the series is known for. It has been reported that Tobin Bell and Shawnee Smith are set to return as iconic characters John Kramer and Amanda Young. It is certain that Saw 11 is guaranteed to deliver a beyond suspenseful and terrifying experience that pushes the boundaries of the horror genre. As fans await the release, just remember, the game is not over. Will it ever be over? Guess we'll find out. Number 14, The Black Phone 2. Thought you had seen the last of The Grabber following the release of The Black Phone in 2021? Unfortunately, you're mistaken. With the announcement of a sequel called The Black Phone 2, it's confirmed that The Grabber is back and ready to unleash even more terror. The exact plot details continue to remain unknown. However, this highly anticipated film is expected to impress, as Scott Derrickson is set to return as director. Derrickson's impressive filmography includes the critically acclaimed Sinister franchise. The Black Phone 2 is expected to continue the story of Finney, a boy who was abducted by serial killer The Grabber in the original film. Throughout the first film, Finney utilized a mystical black phone to communicate with the Grabber's past victims, now appearing as ghostly entities. Original cast members Mason Thames, Ethan Hawke, Jeremy Davies, and Madeline McGraw are expected to reprise their roles. Overall, The Black Phone 2 is sure to deliver a chilling atmosphere and suspenseful experience for fans, which is what made its predecessor a standout in the genre. Number 15. Five Nights at Freddy's 2. 2025 seems to be the year of sequels, as next on our list is the upcoming second installment of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. Based on the adored survival video game series, Blumhouse Productions officially announced the film is in the works during the Comic-Con of 2024. Like many films on our list, the plot is tightly under wraps, as the film is still currently in production. However, we do know that Josh Hutcherson will be reprising his role as iconic security guard Mike Schmidt. While discussing the sequel, Hutcherson stated, "It's much bigger, the stakes are higher, and that there's more animatronics being brought in, different animatronics being brought in, and the world just opens up in a big way." The film is likely going to follow the terrifying lore of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and its sinister animatronics lurking behind every corner. You won't want to miss this release, set for December 5th, 2025. And there you have it. That's just a taste of the horrors to come in 2025. Get ready to scream, to jump, to hide under the covers. This year, fear will find you. Buckle up. It's going to be a terrifying ride. Are there any films that you think we missed? Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.